don't realize the significant role a concept of nationality plays in your daily life. The idea of sharing a culture and a sense of unity with someone is very subliminal, yet also very significant. Please allow me to ask you three quick, simple questions. Who are some of your very close friends? Is there friends you identify with and the friends you feel personally connected to? Now, how many of these close friends you have share type of same nationality with you, or at least the same cultural background with you? If this does not apply to you, let me ask you another question. Who do you normally cheer for at Olympic Games or perhaps a Miss Universe competition? All these questions seem pretty normal, seem pretty straightforward, or maybe a little too obvious. You probably answer me with the country you are from, or at least the country you find some type of identification with. Even as me, an international student here in Bangkok, as I walk through the corridors of the school, I see Thais with Thais, Koreans with Koreans, Americans with Americans, basically these people divided amongst their culture, as if such rules existed. But the question we ask here is, why exactly do we do this? The answer is simple. We crave for a sense of unity. We want to feel welcome where we belong and want to feel belong. And the easiest way to achieve this is by surrounding yourself with people who you look alike, speak the same language, or even perhaps share the same worldview. In other words, the easiest way to achieve this is by surrounding yourselves with people who you share the same nationality with. But how if I shift over and tell you that there are a group of people who don't really possess the same type of unity? These are a group of people who might be like outsiders in every social group, every culture group they belong in. And they don't really possess the same type of welcome, this is my culture type of feeling. We call this people group TCKs, in short for Dirty Culture Fit. Hello, 안녕하세요. Selamat pagi and sawadee. My name is Dayoung. If you ask me where I'm from, I'll probably answer you that I'm South Korean. Well, it's not that simple. The question can vary, such as where were you born in, where did you spend the majority of your life in, and where are you living right now. So let me tell you a bit about myself. I was born in South Korea in 2004, and I moved to Indonesia when I was only about 4 or 5. And after graduating elementary school, I moved here to Bangkok, Thailand, and lived here ever since. And this is how it all began. I was about 4 or 5 sitting in my room when my mom and dad walked in, and they asked me, "Hey Dayoung, what do you think about living abroad?" Well, I had two questions to their question. One was this 4 or 5-year-old Dayoung did not really understand what living abroad meant. Number 2 was, do they still have lychees there? I was a huge fan of lychees as a child. And they convinced me that by going to a more tropical part of the globe, I'm more exposed to lychee. And I happily bought that. But then I did not know that this was merely just the beginning of my 14 years of journey of living outside of my home base. And when I recently moved into Indonesia, there were not a lot of Korean people. In fact, it made it a little easier and a little harder at the same time for us to adjust there. I remember adjusting pretty quickly to this new culture. I learned their language pretty quickly, how their streets, learned their culture and customs really quickly. And after 4 years, I felt like this was my new home. This was my new normal. But after 4 years, when I was in 4th grade, it's also when a lot of Korean companies started expanding to Indonesia. And naturally, they brought a lot of their Korean family members along with them. This, to a 4th grade girl Dayoung, meant, hey, you Korean friends, finally. I remember being pretty excited to meet them. I was having very intact with my culture I was born in for 4 whole years. I was very excited that they were happy. The Korean population in my class vastly grew. And when I say vastly, I mean exponentially. To give you a more clear idea of this exponential growth, the Korean population of students in my class grew from 4 to like 14. And I had 22 students in the whole grade. Yes, it was a very small school, and yes, that's a densely packed group of Korean students. I remember going close to them pretty quickly, for it's a very small school. But the more and more closely I grew to them, the more painfully I realized it is not what I expected. I felt like this picture. You know that feeling when you're in a group of people and you really like them, they seem like a good group of people, and they just seem kind. But you would not say you are one of them. That's exactly how I felt. For example, they were a very competitive group of people. They did not like to see people who kind of stood out from the crowd. It applied to academic achievements, sports, and even the personality of extrovertedness in general. And to my sadness, I was a little bit of all. And to them, they would probably call me attention seeking. And to me, that was normal for me, because to me, it became logical that because I look like them, my family's are Korean, my parents speak fluent Korean, I speak fluent Korean, that's probably the normal. So I conformed to that norm. And 2 years passes, and my dad, this time, got appointed to Thailand. And I remember really not wanting to move out. After 7 years of living in Indonesia, I felt that my identity has been formed here already. This is my group of people, this is where I'm comfortable around, this is basically my place. But yet again, I did not have much choice, and this time the logic trick did not work either. I did not have much choice in coming here, so before I realized, I was on a plane flying to Bangkok, Thailand. And a little spoiler here, thank you, Mom and Dad. Although with a little spoiler saying it was a very good ending, the beginning was always a little rough. It was a big error from the very beginning. For one thing, I came to school at 6 a.m. every day for the first 2 months of school. My school starts at 7:20. That's an hour and 20 minutes earlier than when most students should come to school. So my students in my class probably thought I was that one weird kid who comes an hour and 20 minutes earlier, just staring at everyone coming in. And what I can say is that is not the very best impression you can have of these people. Although the beginning was a little rough, I soon knew that I would really like it here for the very first day of school. I liked how the teachers were very welcoming and the students were really nice too. I liked the first period class and the second period class. I did not like the third. I remember walking into my third period class and sitting down in my seat. I was just communicating with all these other people. And I still vividly remember this one guy approaches me. I call him Alex for anonymous reason. He comes to me and he said, "Hey Dayoung, are you in ESL?" Well, for clarification, ESL is a class for students who need extra English help. But I had two problems to him. I was not in ESL. I just went through another international school, but I still had problems with what he was saying. First, this is his first conversation he was having with me, and that is not the very first way to break up conversation. The second one was, how could he just assume so? I had a lot to say to him, but didn't want to pick a fight for the first day of school, so I said, "No, Alex, but I'll come." He answers me, and I still remember vividly to this very moment. "Well, you told me you're Korean, and that's where all Korean kids go. These Korean kids who are really good at math, but can't really communicate, are just socially awkward." If he could just assume so much just by knowing my nationality, who knows how much one could assume? We need to realize that although generalizing people based on their nationality may be very convenient, but it is too much of an overgeneralization. It subconsciously forms a prejudice against that person to conform meeting them. And that prejudice I try my best to evade. And these are some of the steps I took to try to potentially break that prejudice against me. The first step was to figure out the norm. I soon realized that this school is a lot more academic than our older one. They view people who are smart as very hardworking and generally a positive view about them. They really work hard towards that. The second thing I realized is that, unlike my older school, they kind of think the extroverted people were friendly, just socially adjustable. And that was very easier for me than trying to act introverted. After those type of things, I was really trying to achieve those two traits that I was trying to achieve, to not be that socially awkward kid who's only good at math. And I recently asked some of my very close friends right now, and I said, "Hey, what does your very first impression of me when I recently moved in?" And they answered me that they thought I was friendly, pretty smart, I was pretty outgoing. And I call that a success. I now belong in a secure friend group of 5 different nationalities and 5 different personalities. I no longer have to worry about being too extroverted or being too boring, or being too introverted or being a nobody. I no longer have to prove myself or everything to try to be someone, because I know that these group of people are people who will accept me, whatever I do. And this is what I call my new normal. It's the merge of that smaller Indonesia just dropped to this new type of environment, and kind of a conflict between her old culture and the new culture and how she was. It's also the merge. The middle school girl 4 or 5 years ago who came into Thailand and tried to be someone, tried to break the prejudice against her. It's also me now, standing in front of you. What I really want to say is that your identity should not be confined to what you are. And one message I really want to spread to you today is to be yourself despite. We hear so often to be ourselves, but I really want to emphasize on this despite. Be yourself despite your cultural norm might say no. Be yourself despite you might not feel like you fit into the culture you should belong to. Be yourself despite you might feel like an outsider. Because I'm not saying this to you today to make you a social outcast. That's the least thing I want you to be. But I'm telling you this today because all my past experiences of trying to fit in, trying to figure out the norm, is that such norm is different for every person and it's not confined to a culture or belief. If you choose to be yourself, people who are like you you'll attract people like you, which is my case with my friend group. I know, ladies and gentlemen, I want to finish up my speech by saying that I no longer believe that third culture kids are social outsiders that don't belong to any culture. I believe that they're a potential bridge that has the potential to step up and not be confined to their culture and potentially connect the different cultures of the world together. Thank you.